Today, we're going to completely demystify the hidden mechanics of running two different networks on a single device. Look, we all know smartphones are these little miracles of engineering, but what exactly happens under the glass when you force one phone to juggle two distinct cellular identities at the exact same time? Well, get ready because we're breaking down the whole shebang, the hardware, the software, and the hidden rules of dual SIM technology. But first, before we get into the weeds, let's talk about the physical burden of the alternative. Have you ever actually had to carry two separate phones in your pockets? One for work, one for your personal life? It means you're charging two batteries, stressing about leaving one on your desk, and constantly bouncing your attention between two screens. It's a massive hassle. Dual SIM is the elegant solution to that exact problem, and it's our total focus for today.
So here is our visual blueprint for the explainer. First, we'll cover why use dual SIM. Second, the hardware under the hood. Third, the software acting as a traffic cop. And finally, the hidden traps and quirks you really need to watch out for.
Okay, let's dive into this first section. Why use dual SIM? By looking at the real-world friction points that this setup completely solves.
Think of this like a map of your daily mobile life. Let's start with work-life balance. Imagine labeling SIM 1, the work tie, and SIM 2, the palm tree. Instead of carrying two heavy phones around, the solution is a unified device where modern software actually lets you put your work SIM on a schedule. You can literally shut it off entirely on weekends. Next, let's look at international travel. The big problem? Staggering roaming fees. The solution? Keep your home SIM active for those crucial bank security texts, but load up a cheap local eSIM for all your data. And finally, dead zones. If network A is fantastic in the city but totally dead in the country, you just use network B as a backup, which effectively doubles your coverage map.
And beyond just convenience, there is a massive security benefit here too. Giving out your primary personal number online basically opens the front door to spam and data leaks. Your second SIM acts as a brilliant buffer number. It's an absolute shield for your private identity when you're doing things like signing up for loyalty rewards, navigating dating apps, or buying and selling stuff on public marketplaces.
All right, we've covered the why. Now for section 2, hardware, under the hood. Let's virtually open the phone up and look directly at the internal physical architecture making all this possible. To actually make dual SIM work, the phone's logic board needs a way to read two distinct subscriber identities, and this technology has physically evolved over time. Early on, and honestly still pretty common internationally, we had dual physical nano SIM trays. That's literally just two plastic cards sitting side by side. Then came the hybrid slots, which you'll often find in budget devices. But the modern standard for flagship phones today is physical plus eSIM. This means you get one standard physical slot plus a permanent reprogrammable microchip embedded directly onto the motherboard, where you can instantly download a digital profile for your second line. No plastic required. And this brilliantly illustrates how phones actually handle those two connections. Usually, it's one of two ways. First, we have dual SIM, dual standby, or DSDS. This is the standard in almost all modern smartphones. Notice how there's a single shared radio tower rapidly switching back and forth between both SIMs while they're sitting idle. On the flip side is dual SIM, dual active, or DSDA. Here you're looking at two completely independent towers. This is a premium, super rare architecture that actually uses two entirely separate radios and antennas, meaning both SIM cards are 100% active all the time. Let's move to section 3. The software traffic cop. Because the physical hardware, that's really only half the story here. To keep these signals from crashing into each other, the operating system has to step in. The exact second you boot up your phone, the software takes control. Both SIMs can currently broadcast unique cryptographic keys to their respective cellular towers. That means the networks are authenticating the device entirely independently, which is exactly why you see two separate signal bars sitting at the top of your screen. From there, you, the user, get strict routing controls. You set your default voice line for dialing out. You designate data dominance, basically telling the phone which SIM handles your 4G or 5G internet. And whenever you're typing a text, you get a super clear per-action toggle, letting you seamlessly flip between your primary and secondary line on the fly. But the cool thing is, you don't actually have to manually flip that toggle every single time. The software automates the switching process through smart contact association rules. So you can tell your phone's brain to always use primary for family and friends. For clients and suppliers, you can assign always use secondary. And for general contacts, the phone just defaults to last used, cleverly remembering which SIM you used the last time you spoke to that specific person. Now, while the OS handles calls and standard SMS flawlessly, database messaging apps introduce a pretty major software quirk.
Apple's iMessage and Android's RCS messaging can seamlessly register and support both SIMs at the same time. But third-party apps like WhatsApp, they stubbornly tie themselves to just one number. So if you want two WhatsApp accounts on one phone, the paths kind of diverge. Android manufacturers often build in a feature called dual apps or cloned apps to just duplicate the software. iPhone users, on the other hand, have to use a slightly clunky workaround, downloading the standard WhatsApp for line 1 and the completely separate WhatsApp Business app for line 2.
Let's move to our fourth and final section, hidden traps and quirks, and see how this builds into the hidden costs and dangerous settings you absolutely need to avoid.
To really understand the biggest trap here, we have to energetically map out exactly what happens behind the scenes during a call on a standard DSDS phone. Step 1. In its idle state, the phone's single radio alternates at millisecond intervals, listening to both networks. Step 2. An incoming call pings SIM 1. Step 3. The moment you answer, a virtual padlock snaps shut as the transceiver locks entirely onto Network A's frequency to maintain your audio stream. And Step 4, Network B effectively goes dark. It completely stops listening to your second line.
So the crucial point is this real-world consequence. It literally creates a wall. If you're actively talking on SIM 1, your SIM 2 is completely cut off by that barrier. Anyone calling your second number is not going to get a call waiting beep. No way. They're going to get a busy signal or be sent straight to voicemail, and you won't even see their text messages until you finally hang up your first call.
Next up, I want you to keep this number in mind, 15. Because your phone's internal modem is constantly maintaining double network handshakes, tracking 2 cell towers, and monitoring 2 paging channels simultaneously, it is working overtime, for sure. You can generally expect up to a 15% increase in your battery drain just from running a second SIM.
There is also a pretty frustrating physical real estate trap inside the phone itself, specifically if you're using a budget or mid-range Android device. These often use hybrid SIM slots to save space. It's a total balancing act inside the tray, and you're forced into a compromise. The tray only has room for either a second nano SIM card or a micro SD card. You have to choose between dual network connectivity or expanding your phone's storage. You literally can't have both.
But honestly, the most dangerous hidden trap is purely financial. Buried deep in your settings is a toggle called Allow Mobile Data Switching. If your primary data line loses its signal, this setting tells the phone to silently route internet through your backup line. Now, if you're traveling internationally and you accidentally leave this turned on, it is a disaster waiting to happen. If your cheap local network drops for even a split second, your phone will quietly switch over and pull background data through your incredibly expensive home provider, triggering massive international roaming fees before you even realize what happened. Seriously, keep that switch off when you travel.
So the mechanics of juggling 2 digital identities in one pocket are just incredibly complex, right? But the freedom it gives you over your work-life balance and your travel costs is truly unmatched. Which brings us to our final question for you to evaluate for your own perfect setup. When it comes to your device, are you team physical plus eSIM, or are you sticking to the classic dual tray?